Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, just a quick 1-minute announcement to let you know about my virtual courses and free masterclasses. I have courses and free masterclasses based on both of my books. I have the Ultimate Thyroid Course. This is your answer to solving any thyroid issue, whether it be Hashimoto's, radioactive iodine, thyroidectomy after thyroid cancer, or just general hypothyroidism. Reverse T3 issues as well. It's an incredible value at 17 modules and 29 hours of content with amazing guest expert tutorials. I also offer the Ultimate Confidence Course. That is 15 modules and 14 hours with also a few guest expert tutorials. An incredible value, and I have free masterclasses on both of those topics as well. Visit elleruss.com to learn more. Catharine, welcome to the show.
Well, Elle, I'm so glad to be back. I'm a frequent flyer.
That's right. So interviewed you 1 or 2 times on the Primal Blueprint podcast before it transitioned over many years ago. Yeah. But I will say, and this is what I want to say right off the bat to the audience, your product is one of the products that I have been using for years that I love, that I feel is necessary to my life. And I rarely say that. If anyone goes to my website and clicks on the discounts, I'm very transparent about the fact that a million companies have approached me over the years. And unless I'm really using it in my life and I love it, then I don't bother being an affiliate for someone, right? Yeah. And I cannot say enough good things about ENERGYbits. And so we'll get into all the details about the products you sell, but I will start off by saying that the ENERGYbits that you sell are literally critical to my life because I do not like eating in the morning. But I do sometimes will go do a workout or I'm going to go on a long hike at, 10 a.m. on a Saturday with someone, and maybe I'm already up at 6. I take a packet of the ENERGYbits. I absolutely 100% feel the difference. It's energy without the full stomach. I feel that it makes such a difference because, I might be hiking for 2 hours and then maybe I won't eat till later, but then that's a long time without eating. And I also, I've met you a few times in person, and I'll tell everyone here who hasn't met you, your skin is amazing, but I feel my skin is amazing when I'm regularly taking it. So let's get into ENERGYbits and then the other bits and all of the stuff. But let's talk about, I guess,
spirulina.
Spirulina. And, even though you've mentioned it before, give us a quick rundown of how you got involved in this based on your sister's struggle, right?
I know, becoming an algae expert, and I am not only the national algae expert for algae for nutrition and mitochondria health and everything else, but I think I'm probably the global expert. And I've been on probably 35 conferences and over 200 podcasts, but I keep learning more and more about what algae does, and it's all science-based. It's just that this science hasn't gotten out. And since I've been on your podcast, probably a year ago, I have uncovered even more amazing science that I'm going to share with you in your community today that just nails it, that nobody in the world should be living without spirulina and chlorella algae. And if I do my job right and explain the science right to you today, you'll agree with me. And like you, Elle, I couldn't live without this stuff. So I'm so lucky that I do this. But I stumbled into it. I'm Canadian, but I've lived in Boston for 33 years, although I'm on my way to Miami. And I had a corporate career. It was good enough. A lot of people, I'm sure, know what that means, what that feels like. And then out of the blue, my younger sister, who I'm very close to in Canada, developed breast cancer. And as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, told her she needed to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would help with her healing. Now, they didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first call she made to me after that doctor's appointment, first call she made was to me, because I love my sister. And I'm also just a really good researcher. So like a lot of people, I had no idea what an alkaline diet was. So I just went on the internet and found out it was mostly a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll, which have been proven to build your immune system. So I spent some time researching foods. She changed her diet. She did go through chemo. She is now 12 years cancer-free. So that's the good news. But in the process of helping her, I started researching this plant-based diet stuff, which was 13 years ago, and nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition 13 years ago. And I thought, man, this is powerful. Somebody needs to tell the world. So I gave up my corporate career. I knew nothing about nutrition. I got a certificate in health coaching from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which gave me enough background and credentials to put my own curriculum together teaching plant-based nutrition. But this is what led me to algae, because as I was teaching my courses, encouraging people to eat more vegetables, I got pushback because people said, oh, I know I'm supposed to eat more vegetables, but it's too much work. They're heavy to carry home from the grocery store. They take a long time to clean, to cook, to eat. My husband won't eat them. The kids won't eat them. They spoil rapidly, blah, 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 blah. I thought, okay, well, I've seen the nutritional value of vegetables, but if I can't get people to eat them, I need to find something that's easy and effortless, that gives them the nutrition and none of the hassle. So back to the internet I went, and I just looked at everything I had found for my sister, and nothing was working. And then boom, I got to algae, which first of all turned out to be the most alkaline food in the world. So that box was checked. It's also the most nutrient dense food in the world. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. 1 to 1,000. And this is because the cells of these microalgae are so microscopic in size that when you consolidate them into these little tablets that we sell them in, they're about the size of a baby aspirin. All you have to do is swallow them, or you can chew them if you want. But you instantly get all the nutrition effortlessly. And each tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. I use that same calculation to figure that out. So nutrient dense, alkaline, plant-based. It's also ketogenic, 0 carbs. It's good for paleo. It's the original food. There is nothing that predated algae. It's the first life on Earth. It's been used safely for 60 years in Asia. It's a multi-billion, that's with a B, billion-dollar agricultural crop in Asia. It's almost as big as the beef industry is here. But that's why nobody knows about it, because it's all grown in Asia. And it's pretty much all used in Asia. It's been sold here. Spirulina and chlorella have been sold here for 50 years, but they languish on the bottom shelf of health food stores, and people do put them in their smoothies now because they know they're a superfood, but they're not exactly sure what it is or exactly sure what it does. And it's also science-based. There are 60,000 studies documenting all the health benefits of spirulina and about 40,000 on chlorella. So collectively, that's 100,000. That's a big number. So because it has all this endorsements from NASA, and by the way, the United Nations endorsed it as the answer to world hunger, spirulina, in 1974. That was almost 50 years ago, because it has 3 times the amount of protein as steak. There is nothing in the world by weight that has more protein than spirulina. So with all these international endorsements, it's been used safely in the United Nations, in Asia. It's documented up the wazoo in NIH articles and peer-reviewed articles. The only problem, there were 2 problems with algae in America. Nobody really knew about it, and the quality was poor. It mostly came from China. So I decided 12 years ago, I was going to help the rest of the world understand what algae was, why it was good for them, and provide them with a safe, pure source. We grow ours in Taiwan in triple filtered spring mountain water, and we do third-party lab tests here in the United States at an FDA-approved lab. And that was 12 years ago. And since then, I have continued to research, because I'm also the chief scientific officer. I research and write papers and write presentations. I'm working on a TED Talk right now, because algae will change the world. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. There's clusters of people all over the world. There's quite a growing community of algae. I mean, I'll tell you some of the things, crazy things it's been used for. But right now, with the levels of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer rising, and our plant supply our food supply being so damaged and full of crappy canola oil and seed oils and carbs and sugar, it's impossible, literally impossible to be healthy. And it becomes a full-time job. So the thing I love the most about these algae tablets is it makes health and wellness and nutrition effortless. If you can swallow water, you can get all the nutrition you need for the day, you, your children, your grandparents, your pets, in seconds. I call it not only nutrition insurance, but literally your health insurance. And then when you eat afterwards, it's for enjoyment, it's for social reasons, it's for flavor, because you have just given your body, your mitochondria, your brain, your gut, your everything, every body part, your skin, what it needs to be absolutely optimal. And I'm going to walk you through how that works.
So yeah, that's a wonderful intro. Clearly you've been doing this a while. I love how articulate and to the point you are about all of these things. But let's just talk. The two main types of algae are spirulina and chlorella. So
Correct.
Chlorella, can you just give us a little summary of the health and longevity benefits that each of them offers specifically?
Sure. So spirulina is a blue-green algae, and that means it has two pigments in it. There's a blue one called phycocyanin, which is a mouthful to say, and the green one is chlorophyll, that a lot of people are familiar with, because that's what makes plants green. I won't dwell too much on phycocyanin, but it has some amazing healing properties. But in general, spirulina is known as an energizing and nourishing algae. And the reason it does that is because it has the highest protein in the world, all 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 that your body can't make. And it's loaded with B vitamins, which convert the aminos into energy instantly. Now, it's not only instant because the protein is already in and bioavailable, I would add. It's already in amino acid form, but importantly, spirulina is a bacteria. It's called a cyanobacteria. And this will be important later on when I talk to you about the mitochondria. So that's why athletes love it so much. We were a sports nutrition company for the first 4 or 5 years because the runners, triathletes, Olympic athletes, NHL players found out that it would give them not only physical energy, but mental energy and focus instantly. And it did not upset their stomach like the carb and sugar-based drinks and bars and gels did. So it gives you the energy from the protein, the B vitamins, which can convert the protein into energy. It is what's called a vasodilator. It releases nitric oxide. It has boron, which helps with synapses. It's loaded with essential fatty acids. So it helps with reducing inflammation and with brain health. 40 vitamins and minerals. So it's, and as I said, 0 carbs. So it's fantastic for intermittent fasting. You get up, you're hungry, you're tired, or you want energy for the day, for your workout, just throw back, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, if you can. 1 calorie per tablet, 0 carbs. You'll be nourished for hours. If you're on a weight loss situation, or if you have diabetes, 0 influence on your 0 increase in your glucose, 0. There's studies that show that it even helps get people, it reduces their diabetes for a variety of reasons. So that's spirulina. By the way, because it has 40 vitamins and minerals, it can also replace many of your multivitamins, definitely a multivitamin, definitely a fish oil. Where do you think fish get the omega-3 from anyways? They get it from algae, but most fish oil goes rancid before you even buy it. And of course, algae never goes bad. So that's spirulina, nourishing both mentally and physically. And when we get into the mitochondria discussion, it's also very nourishing and protective of your mitochondria. So it gives you energy at the cellular level because your mitochondria are what generate ATP. And when we talk about the mitochondria, you'll find that the downside of generating ATP is that there are free radicals produced as part of that process. And spirulina and also chlorella, but mostly spirulina, have the 4 antioxidants that can stop the free radical damage, which of course gives you increased cellular energy. So you get that energy immediately, but you also get it because it protects and preserves your mitochondria. So it's a long-term longevity play. And that's why you need to have this every single day. I just wanted to let people know, if you've never tried this before, the kind of energy that you get from spirulina isn't like a lightning bolt.
No.
There's no stimulants, there's no sugar, caffeine, or chemicals. And quite honestly, you might not even notice it. But unless you were doing a run or some sort of sport, and you would perform better and faster and have more endurance and wouldn't even really notice it. The best way that we describe how you feel with spirulina is you feel fresh. That's
Mhm.
about it. Just alert and fresh.
Yeah, there is no stimulating effect whatsoever. You're right. It's just a sustained. The only way that I was able to measure it is the difference between going on a hike without anything and completely fasted versus how I felt with it prior to the
Right.
hike. And it was a noticeable difference of, again, a sustained alive lightness, but again, nothing stimulating or like, "Ooh, I'm going off the rails," like
Right.
nothing like that. But it's still a noticeable difference.
Yeah. Well, as I tell people, there's no drama with algae. There's no rush and there's no crash. It's, it's sort of like your best friend, always there for you, but no drama. That's why it's also great for kids, for children, teenagers, and when we get to the mitochondria, great for people who have any kind of depression, brain issues, Alzheimer's, on the spectrum, ADHD. Man, this stuff rocks when your brain. It's unbelievable. So that's spirulina.
Well, and then that's where that's the energy bits that you sell. Those are the
Yes.
spirulina tabs. And then you've
Yes.
got the recovery bits, which is
Yes.
chlorella. So
Yes.
that's
And
a toxin remover. And I'd love to have you give us a rundown on that.
yes. And when somebody comes to our website, I just want to let you know there actually are two brands of spirulina. The first one was ENERGYbits, as we've talked about, but there's a second brand called BeautyBits, and it's pink. And I'm not trying to trick anybody, but as you heard from the beginning, I started the company because of my sister. So women's health has always been very important to me. But I found for the first couple of years, women weren't buying the ENERGYbits. And honestly, my girlfriend said, you got to make it pink and give it a cute name. And because it has more collagen than collagen powder, and it stops free radical damage of your skin. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to make it another version and call it BeautyBits, because I want women to feel comfortable with it. I'll do whatever it takes to get this stuff in you guys. So someone said, oh, you got a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina. So pretty much, I'm not trying to trick anyone. I just want you to feel comfortable with when you buy it and you carry it around with you. And so, yes, so we have two spirulina.
I love it. So in the way that I look at this, and again, so when I do the beauty or energy bits, the same spirulina, it's usually like, it can be any time of day, but I usually do that in the morning. And then let's talk about the chlorella and those bits for detox, but also for like recovery. So, and is that, I guess, would you say that would be more of an evening thing, or I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know. Tell me what you're.
Yeah. Well, you can take either one of them any time of day, with food, instead of food, together, alone. Most people want energy and focus throughout the day or before a workout. And your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping. So to make it easy for people to remember, we generally say take the spirulina, the ENERGYbits or the BeautyBits in the morning, but you could take them any time of day, and take the chlorella, which we call recovery bits, definitely before bed, because you're going through a detox repair cycle, because the chlorella, it is a wellness algae. Remember I said spirulina is a nourishing, energizing algae. Chlorella is completely different. It's a wellness, healing, cleansing, detoxing algae. And since your body does that naturally while you're sleeping, it will facilitate that and give you a better repair, a better detox. I'm not sure if people know this, but when you are in deep sleep, your brain actually shrinks a little bit, and you have they call it the glymphatic system. It's very similar to your lymphatic system. So it's those, think of us, street washers going in there, cleaning out toxins and, aluminum, for example. So chlorella, because it attaches to heavy metals of any kind, lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum. If you are getting the jab, for example, you want to definitely take this after any kind of vaccine to pull out any other excess metals to protect your health and certainly your children's health. So that's why we recommend taking it before bed, so you can pull out any heavy metals that are in there. Now, the other fun thing that it removes is alcohol. Your body converts alcohol to I'm trying to think of what the term is, but it is a toxin. And so it will pull out the alcohol. It doesn't matter whether it's wine, spirits, beer, and you will be sober in an hour and a half, and you will never have a hangover. Now, with the spirulina, we generally encourage people to take at least 10 throughout the day, or 10 at a time. More is better. You could have 30 as a meal replacement. Same with the chlorella. Yeah, for wellness benefits, just 10 a day would be sufficient. But if you are doing a detox, you really need the 20 or 30. And this is because it will not have enough juice, as I call it, to hold on to the toxins and chelate them, pull them out of your body. You'll still get the wellness benefits if you only take 10 a day, but for detox, you need 20 or 30. So chlorella does far more than just pull out toxins. It has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Spirulina has the highest protein in the world. And you may say to yourself, well, what's so important about chlorophyll? Well, first of all, chlorophyll, the chemical composition is almost identical to your hemoglobin. And we'll send you some articles and some pictures. And you could go online if you wanted to see this. So chlorophyll historically has always been used to build blood. And in fact, up until as recently as World War II, they would give people, when they were having surgery in the old days, liquid chlorophyll to help them heal, because they would heal just as fast as if they'd had a blood transfusion. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical industry came along and they stopped doing that. But so number one, chlorophyll builds your blood. But here's the problem. Our soils are so damaged that even if you are eating vegetables, and not all vegetables are really, frankly, good for you, because they do have, many of them have lectins and oxalates, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But nonetheless, if you are eating vegetables, they have calories and fiber, but they just don't have the same nutrition that they used to 50 years ago. The soils are damaged, so there's not enough nutrients for the plants to have, or the vegetables or fruit are grown so far away, they're harvested before they are ripe, so all the enzymes and nutrients can't get to the fruit or to the leaves. So you're basically just eating stuff, but you're not getting the nutrients you need. Chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. I don't know about you, but my arugula goes yellow after about day 3. Why? Because there was virtually very little chlorophyll in there to start with. So, and then you end up discarding it. So you can save yourself a lot of waste, number one. So you're saving yourself a lot of money, and you can certainly save yourself a lot of time, because you don't have to prepare anything. You just open your mouth and swallow these things. Although chlorella, the ENERGYbits, does taste pretty good with sea salt, or I eat it with pistachio nuts. My favorite are current favorites, salt and vinegar flavor, or macadamia nuts, even better. Macadamia nuts and chlorella, oh my God, you think you're eating potato chips. So if you can learn to like eating them, and you have them as a bedtime snack, you're getting all this great nutrition, all this healing chlorophyll. And it even has 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll. So it's crazy with chlorophyll.
Well, I want to interject and say too, years ago, and I don't know if this is still true, but I was always told, like, hey, if you're if you have bad body odor, or like you ate something and then you would go get liquid chlorophyll, and it kind of like takes care of that, and so that's, again, just another sort of hack there.
Well, if you have any carnivores listening, you guys, your breath is kind of like, woo. So I've met quite a few, quite honestly, and nothing wrong with carnivore. And one of the reasons why they are eating is because they want to avoid lectins and oxalates. And I have good news for you. There aren't any lectins and oxalates in algae. Lectins and oxalates are very pointy and can be damaging proteins that can puncture your stomach lining, cause autoimmune disease. Well, and why do plants have lectins and oxalates? To defend themselves from predators like bugs and animals from eating them. Well, that's plants on the land. Algae started in the ocean. So it's never had to develop lectins and oxalates to protect itself from predators, because there weren't any. So that's why Dr. Gundry is a big fan of algae, because, and he's he has wrote a book called The Plant Paradox. Yep. So you can, any carnivores who are listening, you'll not get any lectins and oxalates. And guess what? Your breath will improve. Right. And so, it's just, it's just mentioning it. Again, there's no carbs. So that's terrific. The other thing about chlorophyll, and I don't think many people know this, and I did this test at home 20 times, and then I went online to confirm, chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. Why is that important? Well, we know, and we're going to hopefully get to it in a few minutes, mitochondria all your health issues, good and bad, start at the cellular level. And it's not just the mitochondria, it's the cell walls that surround the mitochondria, which are fat-based, or lipid, as they call them in the science world. So we all take vitamin D3 and A and omega-3 to make sure that our cell walls are healthy, because if they're not porous and rich with fats, then nutrients can't get in and toxins can't get out. And that leads to disease, the pH becoming more acidic, less oxygen, cancer can take root. Well, chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. And I did these tests to find, because it doesn't, when you put it in water, it doesn't disperse evenly. The color doesn't disperse evenly through the water like the blue pigment that's in phycocyanin, which is called phycocyanin, which is in spirulina. That's why the phycocyanin, the blue pigment in spirulina, has healing properties for blood and plasma, which are all water-based. Things like it stops the growth of blood vessels to tumors. It's called anti-angiogenesis. Things like it sits on top, phycocyanin sits on top of the ACE2 receptor cell, so it prevents the COVID virus from entering your cell. This has all been proven. There's even a University of Pittsburgh has developed a COVID virus vaccine. It's a nose spray, and it's based on algae because of this capability of the phycocyanin. So chlorophyll, because it's fat-based, heals your cell walls. It builds your blood, it heals your cell walls, and as you mentioned, it kills bacteria, not only in your breath, but in your gut, your colon. It's been used for decades, chlorella, for IBS and Crohn's disease, for a combination of A, the chlorophyll, which is very cleansing and kills bacteria, B, the hard cell wall that attaches the toxins and pulls them out of your colon, and C, chlorella does have fiber. It does have that cell wall. So the fiber feeds the bacteria in your gut biome, so you get those short-chain fatty acids. There is no fiber in spirulina because it's a bacteria, a cyanobacteria. So chlorella, because it has all these, the healing properties, the high chlorophyll, it also has the highest RNA and DNA in the world. It is loaded with melatonin, which also helps you sleep. It is the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin. It has a daily requirement of vitamin K2, which moves excess calcium out of soft tissue like your brain, your skin, your heart, your blood vessels, and into your bones. Because excess calcium has been, they've realized that's what causes a lot of heart disease. When you have arterial sclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries, it's calcium that's hardening. A lot of Alzheimer's is your brain is hardening, is calcifying. We're taking D3 and way too much calcium, and nobody's got enough K2. So that's why the chlorella is so healing and so nourishing to your body, to your gut. And remember how I said spirulina is kind of an AM thing and chlorella is kind of a PM. If you need another visual, because we'll talk about this in a minute, think of spirulina as really powerful for your brain. So imagine that's, so you're from top down, it helps your body. Well, chlorella, because it helps your gut and your colon and your digestion and everything that works down below, think of it as working from the bottom up. So spirulina top down, chlorella from the bottom up.
So let's get into mitochondrial function. This is really important, especially as we age, but in general, this toxic world we're living in, so many things contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction, including heavy metals and other things that we mentioned that chlorophyll is beneficial for. But I guess maybe would love to hear your description, like what mitochondria are, what they do, and then again, related to your products.
Yeah. So mitochondria have always been known as the powerhouse for your body. And you think, well, what does that exactly mean? So they call them organelles. They're sort of like peanut shaped. They're inside your cells. And they take the food that you eat and they convert it into energy that can be used at the cellular level. So think of it as, they're the equivalent of generating the electricity that keeps your lights on in your house or keeps your cell phone charged. They generate that kind of energy for your body. So they are responsible for energizing your body. And so that energy is required to live. And I've come up with a great analogy that seems to help people understand all of this. Think of your body as a building. Now, when the building is first built, when you were first born, everything's sparkling and brand new and everything works. And inside the building are offices. Think of those offices as your cells. And this is where stuff happens. But the thing that keeps those cells and those offices working are lights. Because without the lights, you can't do any work. Well, the lights in your cells are the mitochondria. They keep everything working in your cells and in your body. But the problem is, as your building ages, the things that the housekeeping staff and the maintenance people start to leave. And so there's less looking after the offices. And then as the lights go out in the offices, there's no one to replace them. And over time, those maintenance people start disappearing, and so does your energy, and so does your light, and so do your mitochondria. As you age, you have fewer and fewer mitochondria, and as you age, you have fewer and fewer of the things that keep those lights on. And what I'm going to tell you in a few minutes is that algae, especially both spirulina and chlorella, have the four antioxidants that protect and regenerate your mitochondria, so they can turn the lights back on. Turn the lights back on. Now your cells are having more activity. Now your body is renewed. So eventually, because fortunately your body and your cells are constantly renewing, every day you have 30 trillion cells that renew themselves. And with the help of the algae and the nutrients that are in there to protect and renew your mitochondria, you can get your building back looking sparkling and almost as brand new as when it started. And so that's how I want you to understand the layering of what and where mitochondria are so critical to the functioning of your health in your body. So now we know that mitochondria generate the energies they're the electricity for your building, for your cells, for your body. So, and what they generate is this electricity that's called ATP. Now, the good news is that's what they do. They know what to do. But the bad news is, in the process of generating ATP, there is a byproduct, and it's called free radicals. And you've probably heard of free radicals before. They damage your tissue. A free radical is when you have an atom that has what's got an unpaired electron. And just like in the old days when they used to square dance, you can't dance by yourself. So these unpaired electrons would steal another electron from another atom, but in doing so, they damage that atom. And then now that atom is unpaired, and so it goes and steals from somebody else and steals from somebody else. So this causes oxidative stress, oxidative damage. Free radicals damage your tissue. And if you've ever seen an abandoned car in a field, it's been just left there, you see rust and you see big holes, and that's oxidation. The same thing happens with free radicals. They oxidate your tissue. It's oxidative stress. So one way to think of free radicals is think of your body rusting from the inside. So you want to stop that, right? Because when you have a rusted body, you have rusted cells, you can't function and your lights go out in your cells and in your building. So there are two ways to stop this. Well, let me back up one more minute. So here we have these mitochondria generating ATP, but also free radicals. The real problem occurs because your mitochondria have their own DNA. You know that you have 25,000 DNA, they're called nuclear DNA, but your mitochondria have their own. Now there's only 37 of them. And you think, how important could 37 be? Well, it turns out those 37 mitochondria DNA control all of your other DNA. They control all communication throughout your entire body, all communication in your cell walls, everything. They're like air controllers and at an airport. And if your air controllers get sick or die at an airport, planes crash. So when your mitochondria DNA get damaged, and they will, and I'll tell you why in a minute, that's why you age. That's why you get sick, because now they are sending wrong signals or no signals because they die. So keeping your mitochondria DNA healthy is the key to everything. Yes. So why are they getting so damaged? Here's why. Your mitochondria DNA are located exactly inside the inner membrane of your mitochondria, where the ATP is produced and where the free radicals are produced. So it's like they're getting fried by all these free radicals. And if you've ever sat by a bonfire or a fireplace and you got too close and sparks would fly, you know what it feels like, right? To get burned by those sparks. Your mitochondria DNA are getting burned by the sparks thrown off by the ATP production. They're the free radicals. Now, your regular DNA is nowhere near that action because they're not even inside the mitochondria. They're sitting in the cheap seats over in the regular part of your cell. But your mitochondria DNA are right inside the inner membrane where all this action takes place. So the key is to reduce the number of free radicals, because then you have less damage, or to remove the free radicals. I'm going to walk you through how to do both of those. The first thing is you need to change your diet. The highest number of free radicals are generated by sugar and refined carbs. They are brutal. They're like car exhaust. They just kill your mitochondria. Now, if you change to a keto or even just a low carb diet, you will instantly reduce the number of free radicals being produced in that process. So automatically you are starting to save your mitochondria. Now, that doesn't cost you anything, right? And an even better thing to do is fasting, either intermittent fasting or long-term fasting and taking algae. Intermittent fasting and algae create virtually zero free radicals. There'll always be a few because just the metabolic processes that go on in your body always throw off some free radicals. But intermittent fasting or fasting and algae create virtually zero. Now, fasting costs you nothing. Intermittent fasting.
It's pretty free.
Pretty free, right? So that's an easy thing. And honestly, once you start intermittent fasting, I swear you'll never go back. You'll just feel bloated from eating so much in the morning. And because what you're doing is consolidating your eating window. So there are just fewer free radicals produced. And then if you choose wisely and have fewer carbs and refined carbs and sugar, again, you will have fewer free radicals. So I urge everyone listening to at least experiment with that. And of course, algae, it's another conversation, but there's studies that show when you add chlorophyll and sunlight, either red light from sunlight or red light therapy, it generates ATP, it recycles the CoQ10 molecule. So, which is one of the reasons why you get extra ATP from algae, because of all that rich chlorophyll that generates ATP without any free radicals. So that's number one, reduce the number of free radicals by changing your dietary habits to a reduced window through intermittent fasting and choosing wiser with fewer carbs. The next option you have, and I would encourage you with this, is to remove the free radicals that are produced. And so normally you would say, well, that's what antioxidants are for, right? They go in there, they donate an extra electron, they neutralize the free radical, so he's not so stealing from other atoms and causing damage. But here's the problem. You can eat a room full of blueberries and none of the free antioxidants will get into the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Why? Your mitochondria are the only cell in your body that have two membranes. Remember I mentioned earlier, every cell is a lipid membrane. Well, there's one of those around your mitochondria too, and I'll explain why there are two in a minute. There is a second membrane inside that inner membrane that does not allow any antioxidants in, the traditional ones, because the traditional membrane, your lipid membrane, has these openings. They're called porins, and they allowed antioxidants and proteins in and out. There are no porins in this inner membrane of your mitochondria. So all those regular antioxidants can't get in. The only antioxidants that can get into the inner membrane of the mitochondria, where all this damage is occurring, all this free radical damage, are four: glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD, and actually also chlorophyll. Now, the good news is your body creates the first three, glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, from the moment you are born. Remember when that building was sparkling new and you had all those maintenance people? Those maintenance people were glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, cleaning up all the garbage so that your lights could stay on. But as you age, once you hit 20 and 30, once you hit 30, your body makes less and less of those 3 antioxidants until virtually, when you hit 60 or older, there's virtually none. This is when you need the most help, because by the time as you age, your body has been bombarded with more toxins. As you age, you have fewer mitochondria, and your inflammation levels are skyrocketing, but you aren't able to produce those 3 antioxidants any longer because your body just slowed down and basically stopped. Now, the other bad news is that you can't get medicinal amounts of glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase from food. And even if you could take, there are some supplements, most of them get damaged in the gut. So they don't make their way to the mitochondria. So here you're a sitting duck, right? You got all this damage going on in the inner membrane. All your mitochondria DNA are getting damaged from all this free radicals. But I have good news. The highest quantity of melatonin, superoxide dismutase, glutathione, and chlorophyll, which is, your body obviously doesn't make it, but you don't eat much of it or you can't get it anymore. The highest concentration of all 4 is in algae. So these 4 antioxidants automatically get into the inner membrane because they do not need porins to get in there. They have receptor cells that automatically allow them into the inner membrane, and they stop the free radical damage. Now, if you ever had any doubt about how important this is, I want you to know there are 2 million mitochondria per cell in your brain. Think about that.
I lost you. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, you said, sorry, the last thing you said is there's 2 million mitochondria per
cell in your brain. They're realizing Alzheimer's is a mitochondria disease. The next highest concentration of mitochondria are in women's eggs. There's 600,000 mitochondria per cell in women's eggs. They're realizing infertility is a mitochondria disease. The next highest is your heart, 5,000 to 7,000 mitochondria per cell. They're realizing heart disease is a mitochondria disease, a mitochondria dysfunction. The other next highest concentration are all your organs and your muscles, 5,000 mitochondria per cell. Now, your skin and your fats tissues only have about 100. But I just want to show you how critical mitochondria are and how critical it is to protect them, because they are the highest concentration of them are where your highest energy needs are. It takes a lot to think. It takes a lot to create a human from an egg. And by the way, all the mitochondria DNA, remember I mentioned those 37, they are all from the women. None of it comes from men. Your regular DNA, half is from the sperm, half from the eggs, but your mitochondria DNA all come from women. I just thought I'd throw that in there as a side note.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing that goes as you age is your brain. We've had clients email us that 72 years old telling us they had such brain fog from their Alzheimer's, they couldn't figure out how to turn the microwave on. And within 2 days of taking the spirulina and the chlorella, it was gone. So you don't have to wait a long time to get your brain back on board, because the mitochondria are constantly regenerating themselves. And if you can stop the damage and the decline, because they will recover, then you can start protecting your health, protecting your energy. I even tell athletes, look at, not only do you get energy instantly from the spirulina, but because there's so many mitochondria in your muscles, you can preserve your athletic career by protecting your mitochondria, because, you know, we're stopping all this free radical damage at the mitochondria DNA level. So it's pretty powerful, because there is no other source of glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, or chlorophyll at these levels. You know, it's 1,400 times more glutathione than meat. It's something like 25,000 times more superoxide dismutase than cabbage. Cabbage is a teeny tiny bit, but it never gets to the mitochondria. By the way, there are 50,000 studies done proving superoxide dismutase stops heart disease, stops cancer, stops Alzheimer's. So I don't have to, you know, and I have access to a lot of these studies. So the trouble is finding sources of superoxide dismutase. They know it prevents all these diseases, but there hasn't been a source that can provide these benefits. Now, here's the trick, though. superoxide dismutase is an enzyme. And all other companies that I'm aware of use high heat to dry their algae because they are lower priced, higher volume suppliers of algae, whether it's powder or tablets. When I started the company 12 years ago, I had read that high heat kills enzymes. Now, I didn't actually know about superoxide dismutase 12 years ago, but I knew enzymes were important. So we have never used high heat to dry our algae, which is one of the reasons why people often say, well, I'm going to go try a cheaper brand. They always come back because those other algae companies that use high heat, their superoxide dismutase is denatured. It's inactive. It doesn't work. It's like shooting blanks. And so when you use ours, it's all alive and well. So you get all the benefits of the superoxide dismutase as well as the glutathione and the melatonin. By the way, the melatonin, they've realized, does far more than manage your circadian rhythm. It's an antioxidant. They used to think melatonin was only made in the pineal gland. No, it turns out it's made by all of your mitochondria, and it's used by all your mitochondria. And in fact, the mitochondria in your gut generate 400 times more melatonin than the pineal gland. This is why the melatonin is so important. And by the way, it will only make you sleepy at night. Our spirulina has the highest melatonin in the world. And people have been taking it all for, forever. Well, for us for 12 years, but it doesn't make you sleepy because it's only triggered by night. But the problem is as you age, remember I said, as you age, your melatonin, superoxide dismutase and glutathione drop. And so older people have a hard time sleeping.
Well, and it's also, I just want to interject here. I mean, as far as functional medicine is concerned as well, the recommendation is people, 50 and over should be taking melatonin anyway as an anti-aging longevity supplement. And I will say this. So on a personal level, even though it's recommended like, oh, hey, if you're 50 and over, take 5 milligrams. Well, listen, that'll make me feel like a brick hit me the next day. So I have to do extremely low dose. But again, you can ease your way into this by getting the natural lower, you know what I mean? Like not hit you like a brick type of thing. And I think that's the problem because people take melatonin, they might take too high of a dose and then they're really exhausted the next day and they're like, oh, that's too much. And you're like, well, you need just to dial it back. So you can start that train in your mid to late 40s with these recovery bits. And then also, if you need more later, you can add it, but you might not need to because of the natural source.
Right. Well, and because it's food, it's grown in triple filtered spring mountain water. So yes, there's algae in the ocean. Ours does not come from the ocean. It's from a safe source. It's from triple filtered spring mountain water. And then we air dry it without heat, which preserves all the nutrients. But you'll always get all the irony is you might take the maybe spirulina for energy, but your skin's going to improve. Or maybe you'll take the chlorella for detox, but your digestion's going to improve and your sleep is going to improve. So there's 40 vitamins and minerals in all of them. And I'm just pointing out right now the 4 that preserve and protect your mitochondria from damage, because the damaged mitochondria and damaged mitochondrial DNA is the source for health or longevity. And that's, for me, the number one. And, I can talk about thousands of other benefits, but you've got to look after those little guys because that controls the outcome of your life. And when your lights go out, the life in you goes out because it just is that way. Now I'm going to explain to you why now there are 2 membranes in the mitochondria. And this science has existed since the 60s, but I only stumbled across it about 9 months ago, and I pretty much flipped out when I discovered it, but it all makes sense when you start to understand how this works. So I don't think I mentioned, or maybe I did, that algae was the first life on Earth. And before algae, Earth was just gas and water. There was no oxygen and no life. And nobody knows why the first single cell started growing, but it did. And it was an anaerobic cell because, of course, there was no oxygen on Earth. And it was a cyanobacteria, like spirulina. Remember I said spirulina is a cyanobacteria. So this little cell started growing and it generated ATP, which caused it to release oxygen. So within 1 billion years, there was a lot of oxygen on Earth. So now the aerobic cells, which were larger, started growing, but they didn't generate ATP as well. So what happened was the large cell, I can imagine the conversation with the large cell, between the large cell and the little cell. The large cell says to the little anaerobic cell, hey, little guy, I see you're struggling there with all this oxygen. How about you come and join us? We'll protect you from the oxygen and you can generate ATP for us. And we won't digest you. We'll just live harmoniously. And that's exactly what happened. The cyanobacteria got absorbed by the larger bacteria, which was aerobic, and turned into mitochondria. Now, this is why there is two membranes in your mitochondria. There was the original membrane from when it was out there by itself as a cyanobacteria for 1 billion years. And then when it got absorbed by the larger aerobic cell, another second membrane, the lipid membrane, was put around it, but it retained the original one. And this also explains why everything in algae can get into that inner membrane, because mitochondria basically are algae. They came from algae. It's the same genesis. So it knows how to get in there because it's the same thing. Unbelievable, right? It's all
no, listen, I mean, I'm one of your biggest fans as far as this product goes. And, you mentioned it and I mentioned it earlier, but man, my skin is so much better if I don't take it for a while or something. I just don't feel like things are as right. And also too, again, like you talked about just in wrapping up here in the next few minutes, talking about fasting, this is a way also on days when I don't feel like eating vegetables, right? For whatever reason, or maybe I just want a little, but then I'm like, you know what, let me get some extra greens going on here, kind of thing. Yeah. And again, what a great thing for you're on a long plane ride, you're in between meals, that moment in the afternoon where you're like, I've got a later dinner tonight because I didn't plan that, but other people wanted to eat at 7. It's 3. I don't really want to eat, but that's the time to maybe take some ENERGYbits. I mean, these things are great holdovers. Yes. And, a lot of people in the paleo primal world might do, and look, another holdover would be like a little bit of MC2 or whatever, but then you're having a more calorically dense situation, adding fat to it when you may not want to in that way. So I feel like this is a satiating holdover biohack too. And those, I feel like I have them with me all the time because they come in really convenient packets, which is great as well, like little mini packets. And they're just so great to travel with too. It's almost like if you don't want to take your multivitamins or all your stuff with you, just grab some of these and travel with them. And it's sort of a one-shot deal.
Yeah. I call it the ultimate fast food.
Yeah, I know. There you go. It totally is. I do want to, in sort of wrapping up, because you've got the ENERGYbits and Beauty Bits, which are essentially spirulina, just named it different. And then we've got Recovery Bits, which are the chlorella. But then you have Vitality Bits, which, sorry, bitch, I didn't mean to say that. Vitality Bits, boy, that was, and that's a blended spirulina chlorella. So with the Vitality Bits, when do you suggest what time of day to take that? Would that be evening because it's got the chlorella in it, or is that sort of whenever?
Instead of taking maybe 20 spirulina in the morning and 20 chlorella at night, just take 20 Vitality Bits in the morning and 20 at night. So, because it's only got half of each algae in there. We blended that because some people just don't want to bother and think about, keep taking them separately. So, or maybe they can only buy one bag, and whether you take 5 or 10 or 20 or 30, there is no upper limit. It's food. It's just like some people need 1 egg, some need 5. So it's whatever you're doing that day, whatever works for you. So
I do want to mention, everybody, listen, try this for 30 days. And I guarantee you're going to notice a difference, particularly if you're like me. And or if you want to try intermittent fasting, this has probably got to be the best intro into it. If you're trying it out and you're like, okay, I don't want to eat till 12, but normally I do, and I'm trying to see if this can work for me. An easy way in would be doing the ENERGYbits from when you wake up until you're going to have that meal as a holdover. But in general, I take it like a supplement, and I love them. My gosh, I think maybe it's 6 years or so now that I've been using them. And honestly, I think you were the first person I was even an affiliate for, because I believe so much in the product. So I love it. But I want to tell everyone, if you guys want 20% off of any of these products, it's energybits.com is the website, and you can use code PRIMAL. Just type in the word PRIMAL and you will get 20% off. And I just say, try it for 30 days, be consistent. and see what you think. And then again, if you, I would say try both and do it morning, evening. But again, if you do anything, I would say at least try the ENERGYbits for 30 days and see what you think, because you're going to notice the difference.
Yeah. And not only will it save you time, because there's no prep here. You don't have to grocery shopping. You don't have to clean anything. You don't have to cook anything. You don't have to throw anything out. They have an expiry.
You can throw them in your purse and just go and then swallow them with water, which is what I do.
It's effortless. It's absolutely effortless. If you can breathe and swallow water, you can get nourished and get through keto. You can get through, because it's ketogenic, you can get through intermittent fasting. You don't have to be stuck eating crappy carbs because you're at the airport somewhere and you're surrounded by them all. It is effortless. And as you said, you really need to take them every day. But when you take them every day, you can eliminate a lot of your vegetable purchases, a lot of your protein purchases, a lot of your vitamins. It will save you money as well as time. And I did that calculation. I found out there's the equivalent nutrition. We sell them in large bags of 1,000 tablets for $125, but with your discount, it brings it down to about 100. But anyways, there's the equivalent nutrition of 551 pounds of vegetables in that each bag. So I tell people, not only is it efficient nutrition, it's intelligent food. It knows what to do in your body, and you have to be intelligent to use it.
I love it. Well, I am so, first of all, everyone, to connect with Catharine and follow ENERGYbits online as well on all the social media platforms. You can look at the show notes, but again, go to ENERGYbits.com, use code PRIMAL, PRIMAL, for 20% off. And yeah, I mean, this is just one of the things I swear by. And I'm just so grateful for all of your work and getting the message out there, and just for creating a wonderful product and adding that to our health industry that we're all part of, and changing lives in the process. So Catharine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Elle, and thanks for everything you do. And I just want to, again, assure people, algae isn't new. It's just new to you. So give it a try.
Absolutely. Good one. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.